Art of timing property decisions. Have you ever missed out on a property deal because you hesitated? Or did you rush into something that you later regretted? Timing is literally everything in property decisions. So, how do you master it? So, welcome to the Property Mindset Podcast, where I'm Emma Howitt, mentor, investor, and your guide to building wealth, freedom, and personal transformation through property. Property isn't just about bricks and mortar, it's about building the life you truly desire. In this space, we don't just talk strategy, we deep dive into mindset as well. Sometimes something that I've definitely found is missing in most other industries, but it's been a real game changer for me in the professional property circles. So today we are going and looking deep dive into split second or slow and steady, the art of timing property decisions. So let's turn dreams into actions and actions into success. So why does timing really matter in property then? So let's just think through it. There are basically two opposite ends, isn't there? There's rushing and there's hesitating. So sometimes people might rush into a deal, jump onto something without really doing their due diligence. So I worked with somebody once who was not into knowledge or learning, and they would just go into a property and go, yeah, my gut feel is this is okay. And then I would walk in the property and there would be like, they would need, a completely new rewire, need a whole load of varying things. And I was kind of like, oh my gosh, this is a real concern. They have not done their due diligence to make sure that this is correct. They would just rush in and make offers on everything, which I think is a bit dangerous. But then equally adversely, you can have this hesitation and therefore potentially missing out on deals because you've perhaps overanalyzed. So especially if you've got a below market value deal. So I had one recently. I saw this fantastic flat. It was really below market value. And I could see that the vendor was obviously quite motivated. It had been sold and then it obviously something had gone wrong and it was back on the market and it was really cheap. Anyway, I kind of looked at it and then I was going away for the weekend and I had lots of other things on. So I thought I'll come back to that. And obviously by Monday it had gone. So these things, happen and, we have to be quick on it. But equally, when we're doing our analysis, it's really key that we don't go into crazy over analysis and not make these decisions. So apparently 80% of property deals are won or lost on timing. So that is something to be really aware of. So what do we need to do? We basically need to be prepared, don't we? We need to know when we can act and how we can get that significant edge. So when do we know when to act fast, for instance? So if we look at a few scenarios. So when we've got a really competitive market, if you've got a well-priced property, you have got to know your numbers really quickly. And one of the thoughts around this is knowing your area really, really well. If you absolutely know your area, you can analyze deals in 5 minutes because you know the values of things, you know what is moving, you have great relationships with agents, you have seen all the other properties that have been selling recently. Whereas if you're literally jotting from here, there, and everywhere, it's going to take you a lot longer to make this analysis. Or it might be commercial property. You've got a specific, very specific size, type of property on the high street, for instance, with perhaps some uppers. And that is and perhaps you're putting in, I don't know, a charity into there. And that is what you're looking for. So those are very specific and you are able to, with your criteria, make really quick analysis of these things. Another time when a scenario when you should act fast is when there's very time limited opportunities. So that would be obvious things like auctions, a distressed sale. It might be, yeah, something where somebody's about to have their property repossessed. These are not times to be spending too much time and effort worrying about what's happening. So again, it's having that backup, it's having that due diligence beforehand, which enables you to make those quick decisions to be able to perhaps help somebody, or again get that auction over the line in the time that it needs to be. And a third one is thinking about your sort of instinct driven deals. So again, I spoke about you can trust your kind of intuition, but that should be something over time through experience and learning and really understanding things. So it's not like, oh, I'm starting out, that looks like a good property, I'll just go for it. Please, no. It really is about once you've analyzed all the data, once you're there with it, you're like, yeah, this is absolutely the way I'm going to go through and this is going to make it work. So obviously, it is really key to act fast, but you've got to keep that due diligence checklist absolutely all the time with you so that you understand not only the due diligence on the property, but equally your own financial position, for instance. That relationship that you might have with your investors. Can you call them up for a last minute deal that's come through? Do the agents come to you first? So a lot of these things we start putting into place to enable us to get those quick decisions made. And it's not actually a quick decision. It's actually a lot of pre-preparation, a lot of our foundational work that has got us there in that moment that has enabled us. So it's a bit like an overnight success has taken 10 years, isn't it? It's all that work that you've done beforehand, which enables you to make these really great decisions and to be able to make them really, really quickly. So when should you really slow down your decision making? So, a few examples of that might be if it's a really complex deal. So, it might be a commercial conversion, it might be a mixed use property, you might require more planning, a whole host of all of these things. It might be a new build. So, all of those things, you really must take that extra time to again get that foundational knowledge, run those numbers, really understand where that property deal lies. And if it is really a deal, because quite often with these complex ones, you want to be making sure that you're not missing out on anything. So, who are you talking to? Who are you getting? Who is your power team that are helping and supporting you in this scenario? Another key scenario where you want to take it a bit slower to start with is a new strategy. So it might be, that you are changing from flipping to doing buy, refurbish, refinance. You might be doing HMOs when you've only done just straightforward single tenants before. So all of these things is you want to have that more measured approach. You want to be going on a new course, reading books, surrounding yourself with other people who are doing that new strategy. Because again, it's getting that information, that knowledge. And before we start just jumping in, oh, I'm just going to do this, you can understand where these new elements come into play, how everything works alongside each other. And that's really key to please take that time. And that's what I do a lot when I mentor people. We spend actually quite a lot of time up front really understanding exactly what their strategy is, why they want to do that strategy. Does it align with their goals? Does it align with their vision? Because quite often we have this thing, lots of people, it's like, oh, I want to do, let's say, high cash flow. I'm going to do deal sourcing, deal packaging. And then they realize that actually they hate numbers and they do, and actually they're not that worried about cash up front. They're more looking about legacy as much as everyone loves a bit of extra cash. And so it's really considering, well, does that align with me? And that's where we need to take that little bit of extra time to do that. And then another one scenario where I think you would just sort of slow down and understand this, what's going on, is a market shift. So, for instance, when we had the pandemic coming through, it probably would not have been wise to just jump into something completely new. We had to take a bit of time to understand what's going on. And equally, it's just being aware. But there has to be a caveat to that, doesn't there? Because if there is a great deal on the table, is the deal going to be affected by a change in that particular market? If it's not, and it's still market value, it's still a great property, it's still got a resale value, or you can refinance it, then absolutely, let's not make a market shift our excuse. It's just so that we understand these scenarios so that we know if it's the right way to go. And it obviously, like anything, it's keeping our knowledge up, it's keeping those foundations going. So obviously, I'm a big advocate of this. Is when in doubt, surround yourself with people who know what they're doing, who've done it before you. So that might be your network, it might be your mentor, and definitely, talk through your deals. So it's great. I mean, I've got various mastermind groups where we walk through our deals, we talk about it to each other because we can't see or know everything, and it's really great to get those experts around you in your network, your community, who can help you avoid those really costly mistakes that you may have just overlooked. So that's a definitely a really key one. So how can we balance this sort of speed and strategy? So it really is creating a framework, I suppose, for your sort of decision making. And definitely it's around having sort of that clarity, how it aligns with you as a person, how it aligns with your goals, the research that you need to do, how much research you need to do to get that clarity to enable you to move forward. And we've got to give ourselves deadlines. So once you've got all that information, we can't then wait 6 weeks to make a decision. You've got to give yourself a deadline. Are you going to make that decision within an hour, 2 hours, 12 hours? Once you're going over that 12 to 24 hours, when you've already got all the information, you've got to question yourself. You've got to make that leap. You've got to be courageous, because that's when we miss out on those opportunities. So really look at having sort of checklists, things that you need and know that you've got to do to ensure that your due diligence process is really, really full. And, create a kind of go or no go process for quick decisions, because inherently we don't want any kind of emotional thoughts coming into it. Oh, I love that property, it's the exact one. Oh, it's got beautiful front door. We don't want any of that. It's got to be a very, very beholden on the numbers and the situation and the area and all of those kind of things. So obviously, to whether to make that split-second decision or a bit more slow and steady is really about understanding and mastering your timing with regards to what kind of project it is. And I keep reiterating it is all about that preparation before going ahead. So try now and reflect perhaps on a decision that you have made. Did you think the timing was right? Did you think you gave it enough time to make that decision? Did you make it too quick, or do you think you made it too slow? So it'd be really useful. So do share, do share your comments on any particular decisions that you've made that you felt were really great, or perhaps in hindsight, you would have done it a bit differently. So yeah, that would be great. And remember, timing isn't about luck. It really is a skill that you can develop. And by mastering the art of decision making, you'll massively unlock opportunities that definitely others might miss. So today we have just explored whether you need to make split-second decisions or be slow and steady. And it's all about that art of timing your property decisions. So remember, property success isn't just about what you do, it's about how you think. And when you combine a strong strategy with an unstoppable mindset, there's no limits to what you can achieve. So please do reflect on today's podcast and consider consider just one action that you are going to take away from today and implement now into your week to help you move closer to your property goals. And as always, if you know of anyone who is perhaps struggling with their property journey, please do share this episode. It could be a real game changer for them if they need it. And remember that the more people we actually help, then the greater our own wealth in every sense of the word. And I love growing this community because it means that we're all growing our potential to have success together. And to close, your mindset is your greatest property. Keep building it.